Hi, and welcome to KET's News Quiz. I'm your host, Kelsey Starks. October is winding down, and hope you're enjoying fall so far. Let's get revved up with today's challenge question. What is the geographic term for a group of islands? This word refers to a chain of islands, like the Hawaiian Islands, or Japan, or the Philippines. The islands can be located in a sea, ocean, lake, or even a river. We often mention this overarching word when we show you maps of these chain islands. Can you think of it? What is the geographic term for a group of islands? We'll have that answer for you after the news. Topping our news this week, people on both coasts of the United States are recovering from major weather events. In western Alaska, the remnants of Typhoon Halong brought hurricane-force winds and catastrophic flooding to coastal communities. The U.S. Air Force was deployed to evacuate more than 1,000 people from remote villages. A typhoon is a tropical cyclone. It's the same as a hurricane, only named something different when it happens in the Northwest Pacific Ocean. The typhoon hit the Izu island chain in Japan last week, with the storm's remnants still packing fierce winds and rains when they slammed into western Alaska, some 5,000 miles away. Meanwhile, states along the East Coast are dealing with the aftermath of a nor'easter. A nor'easter is a cyclonic storm that happens along the east coast of North America, powered by winds from the northeast. The world is getting hotter, but a new report says it could be worse. While scientists say temperatures are getting hotter, they say our efforts to slow global warming are working. Studies show we could gain an additional 57 super hot days per year by the end of this century. However, that number could have doubled without the steps that are being taken to reduce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases trapped in our atmosphere. The Paris Agreement was signed 10 years ago. In it, nations around the world agreed to curb emissions in their countries and to help poorer countries make positive changes. The new report notes that we need to continue reducing those emissions to keep the positive changes going. Let's storm right into the first part of today's quiz. Questions 1 and 2 are about the powerful weather systems. Question 1. The area impacted by Typhoon Halong is A. Alaska, B. Japan, or C. both A and B. Question 2 is true or false. Location is the only difference between a typhoon and a hurricane. Is that statement true or false? Questions 3 and 4 are about the climate changes. Question 3, by the end of the century, more days will be A. hotter, B. colder, or C. more stormy. And question 4, the name of the treaty to reduce emissions is the A. U.S. Agreement, B. Paris Agreement, or C. Sydney Agreement. Back to the news. As the government shutdown continues, Americans are feeling its impact. Some airports are experiencing delays because of fewer workers at TSA checkpoints and air traffic control. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are furloughed or temporarily not working, while some essential federal workers are still working but without pay. National parks like Mammoth Cave in Kentucky are operating with limited services. Mammoth Cave has suspended cave tours, and some facilities are closed for lack of workers. A library honoring our 26th U.S. president is being built in a remote area of our country. President Theodore Roosevelt loved the Badlands of the Dakotas. That's why his presidential library, with collections and artifacts from his time as president, will be located in North Dakota, across from Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Badlands are a dry terrain where much of the top layers of sedimentary rock have eroded. Typically, there are steep slopes and ravines. The U.S. has Badlands in Wyoming and the Dakotas, among other states, with Badlands National Park in South Dakota. Scientists in Washington state are testing whether underwater internet cables can help monitor endangered orcas. Researchers deployed about a mile of fiber optic cable underwater to test whether the same strands that carry internet signals could be transformed into a continuous underwater microphone to track the movements of orcas or killer whales. If it works, it could become a vast ocean listening network, a valuable breakthrough as new marine protected areas are established under the High Seas Treaty we told you about here on News Quiz 2 weeks ago. Think about those stories as we head into the second part of today's quiz. Don't shut down before you answer question 5. Federal workers who are temporarily not working are A, furloughed, B, suspended, or C, terminated. Question 6 is history in rough terrain. The Presidential Library in the North Dakota Badlands will honor A, Franklin Roosevelt, B, Ronald Reagan, or C, Theodore Roosevelt. And listen up for question 7. The underwater network would monitor the movements of A, seals, B, orcas, or C, sharks. Back to the news. Kentucky's first multi-sensory public art mural is in Louisville's Clifton neighborhood. The 58-foot curved wall was unveiled across the street from the Kentucky School for the Blind. It's covered in more than 4,000 handmade ceramic tiles that depict the history of the neighborhood with well-known landmarks, including the Kentucky School for the Blind. It was created so people who are blind or who have low vision can still experience art using other senses, like touch. Around the world, inventors are sparking interest with new ways to travel, flying cars and vehicles, all powered by hydrogen. In Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, a Chinese company showed off its flying taxi called the eVTOL. This vehicle looks like a giant drone. It can take off vertically, straight up into the air. Plus, an off-road race in Saudi Arabia showed off cars powered by hydrogen gas. These vehicles emit only water vapor, not harmful gases. The gas is converted into electric energy to power the car batteries and motors. And back here at home, a festival celebrating the United States' 250th birthday is honoring the country's river cities. America's River Roots Festival is a 5-day event that brought river boats from 7 cities to Cincinnati and northern Kentucky. The river boats came from New Orleans, Louisville, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, St. Paul, Minnesota, and Memphis. The festival celebrated the cultures, cuisine, and music from the country's major river cities. America's 250th birthday is the next 4th of July. Let's celebrate the final part of today's quiz. Feel your way to question 8. The new mural was created to help people who are blind better experience A, crosswalks, B, parks, or C, art. Find a new way to travel with question 9. The environmentally friendly race cars use A, hydrogen, B, oxygen, or C, helium. And even more to celebrate. It's question 10. The Cincinnati Festival is honoring America's A, historic buildings, B, federal monuments, or C, river cities. All right, put down your pencils now. We can take a break to read more of your fur-friendly opinion answers. Maddie writes to us from the 5th grade at Highland Elementary in Glasgow, Kentucky. With a tall order, I would choose a giraffe because their long necks could be really useful around the house with getting the hard-to-reach spots. Dusting, mostly. Love to see that. Daphne is from the 4th grade at North Lake Academy in Washington State and is looking for a big pet. I would like to have a moose because they are big and have lots of soft fur. I could ride on it and go through forests really fast since moose are super quick. It could also help carry heavy things when I go on adventures. Want to see that one too. Fifth grader Zachary from Deepwoods Elementary in Texas is buzzing about his choice. I would choose a colony of bees because me and my mom like having honey in our tea. Also because honey is expensive, but it is tasty and is good with a lot of stuff. And Weston is in the 5th grade at Woodlawn Elementary in Boyle County, Kentucky, and has a dual purpose for his answer. I will choose pet bass because I would let it grow to 17 pounds and then put it in a pond that I fish, and then I can catch the biggest bass caught in Kentucky. Sounds like a plan. Well, you may remember last week when we told you about the winners of the Nobel Prizes. Well, there's a lesser-known ceremony called the Ig Nobel Awards, and these are for comical scientific achievement. Some of the winners were researchers who looked into whether painting cows with zebra stripes could keep flies away. Another group studied the type of pizza that lizards preferred. The Ig Nobel Prizes were established to honor achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think. There's some inspiration for our new opinion question. This might be funny or useful. We want to know, what's your idea for an invention and why? Send your opinion to us via email at newsquiz@ket.org or use the form at ket.org/newsquiz. Be sure to include your name, grade, school, and teacher's name in your response. We can't wait to hear some of your inventions. Now, we hope you didn't feel out on an island with today's challenge question. Let's float back to that one. Take a look at our answers. An archipelago is a group or chain of islands clustered together in a sea, lake, or river. The Faroe Islands are an archipelago in the North Atlantic. They sit between Norway and Iceland, but they're part of Denmark. These 18 remote islands are becoming popular tourist destinations thanks to the cooler weather there and the amazing views from the cliffs and steep hills. And here are the rest of today's answers. The answer to question 1 is C. Parts of both Alaska and Japan were impacted by the typhoon. The answer to question 2 is true. Location is the only difference between a typhoon and a hurricane. The answer to question 3 is A. Our days are growing hotter. The answer to question 4 is B. The Paris Agreement aims to cool our climate. The answer to question 5 is A. Federal workers who are temporarily not working are furloughed. The answer to question 6 is C. The Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library will be in the Badlands. The answer to question 7 is B. Orcas would be tracked by the underwater network. The answer to question 8 is C. The new mural helps people who are blind better experience art. The answer to question 9 is A. Hydrogen is the gas powering those desert race cars. And the answer to question 10 is C. River cities were honored at the River Roots Festival. And today's final story is making a splash. You think dogs know how to swim. It's just an instinct, right? Well, while that's often true, this canine dip and dive still comes in pretty handy. These sessions help dogs of all ages learn techniques to swim naturally and feel more comfortable in the water. Now we'll just doggy paddle our way out of here, and we'll see you next week for more News Quiz. Bye.